Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome back. I'm here with another Hammer title. Now, it has been quite a while, but I'd gone through over 45 of these titles, I believe, and I really needed a break from them. For one thing, I needed to mix things up a bit more, and I was also actually running out of titles to find. Out of those 45, there were ones that were highly regarded, were very easy to track down, and it was just getting difficult to find some other ones to enjoy, or much less where I could enjoy them. And before I begin, also, if you do enjoy these Hammer films, stick around to the end where I'll have some links to some of the other titles that I'd actually covered last year and through the first part of this year. Okay, now that all that's out of the way, this entry here is going to be for the 1970 film The Vampire Lovers, the synopsis for which is as follows. Seductive vampire Carmilla Karnstein and her family target the beautiful and the rich in a remote area of late 18th century Germany. So, not a lot on that, but I'd heard a little bit about the Carmilla story over the years, and if I recall correctly, there was a slight interpretation of it kind of worked into Fright Night 2 New Blood, which that's another whole story, but if you check out one of my little series of different Fright Night films that I covered, I go into that one a little bit. And, so you can go ahead and check out those if you're interested. But anyways, I'd watched most, if not all, of the Hammer Dracula films, as well as The Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires, and Kiss of the Vampire, and Vampire Circus. I'd been wanting to check out this title for quite a while because it's shown up on several lists on, must-see Hammer films. This title is always in there. So I'd really wanted to check it out. Had a hard time tracking it down, but just recently I noticed it was on Tubi, which, for those not familiar, Tubi, of course, is an ad-based service. Luckily, in my case at least, the ads don't really go over the top or anything. There's only a couple ad breaks throughout the film. It's not enough to really break it up too much. So it's great to finally get in and check it out. And what did I think of it? Well, it's pretty good. It wasn't great, definitely not bad, but, a solid middle ground kind of film. Most of the film, of course, centers on, Carmilla sneaking her way into the lives of these people, seducing them, drinking their blood, lots of back and forth with that as all the other characters are trying to figure out the mystery of these health issues happening with some of these characters. We get more of a push towards like the sensuality and seduction side of vampire stories. We get a lot more nudity thrown in than we usually have seen in the previous Hammer films. A lot less action in this one, compared to some of the others, but with those action scenes, the gore does seem to be upped a little bit more than I remember from some of the other Hammer films. But also, as expected, Peter Cushing was amazing in this, as was Ingrid Pitt. The style and overall look of the film, whether it be from the costumes, the sets, or simply just how they captured color on film back then, in a lot of these older films, looked really great. As did the transfer. This is one that, at least the transfer that was on Tubi was very good. It wasn't washed out at all. It was a really nice one to check out. But like I said, the film was just kind of a middle ground one for me. The story's interesting. Seeing what's happening to these characters as they're reacting to what's happening around there, seeing certain characters slowly getting seduced by her, while other ones are trying to figure out, like they can just sense that something is not right. But there are some points throughout where it does drag a bit, and perhaps, at the time with maybe some of the, changes in how they rated films back then, where they started allowing a bit more nudity and sexual content, this would get a lot more attention back then, as it was showing more skin than many of the previous films had, and had some same-sex content in it as well, which is perhaps kind of rare back then. And I wonder if maybe that's part of the reason why this title has really stuck out on a lot of these lists. Similar to, say, a film like The Human Centipede, where the concept and the shock seemed to sell the film more than the actual story did, in my opinion at least. But don't get me wrong, this one is good. It's definitely worth the watch. Outside of those slow spots, we do get some interesting gore that I hadn't seen before. We, of course, get these great performances. And, the story still works out pretty well. It's, like I said, a bit slow in spots, but and some of it is a little bit watered down from time to time. But overall, though, I didn't really find much special about this that really stood out to say it's a must-watch and it's amazing or anything like that. And that may be simply due to having watched so many of these Hammer films over the last year and a half that maybe I just have too much to compare it to, or have just seen too much of this kind of film in such a short amount of time. I can imagine growing up in the late 50s through mid 70s, where you're getting a film like this maybe every month or two. The fact that I went through 45 of them in less than a year, I think, is probably a little bit overboard. But however, I still feel that if you like vampires and Hammer films, you know, are your thing, then this is definitely one worth heading on over to Tubi to check out. And speaking of checking out, thanks for checking out this latest video. It's definitely a short one here, yeah, this latest entry for this other Hammer title, and I believe the last one I did was quite a while back, I think in March, so it had been a little while since I'd done one. Anyways, what are your thoughts on this film? Did you see it originally in theaters when it came out, or shortly after? Did you see it sometime recently? You know, sound off in the comments about what you thought, you know, and also especially feel free to suggest any other Hammer or AIG films that may be worth checking out. And I will see you in the next one.